All right, we are on the air. Welcome to AVFM Radio. Here we have Tom Golden and Paul Elam. We are going to be, say again?
I just said hello.
Oh, okay. Today we're going to be talking about the co-option of International Men's Day down in Australia. This is being run through the Australian Women's Network in association with several businesses and White Ribbon. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Tom, you're the first one that I picked this up from through your video, and it made me go ahead and go down the rabbit hole a little bit and see what else I could find, and I'm really not surprised at the results that came up. What have you found out?
Well, what I looked at was I was kind of excited about Australian Men's Day. And then I saw this whole thing about the Australian Men's Network. I thought, wow, Australia's got a men's network? How about that? And so I looked closely, and the web page that was the Australian Men's Network page didn't have any links on it except for one link, and that was to buy tickets to their event for International Men's Day, which struck me as kind of bizarre. So I scrolled in real tight, and what I found was on that page, it says in very tiny print, actually, it's under the auspices of the Australian Women's Network. And that was, of course, that set the ball rolling. And I rolled my eyes and said, well, this has got to be a video. So, and we went from there.
Okay. We've got Australian Women's Network here. They look like a very well-connected group. Down there, yes, with a lot of sponsorship and a lot of business connections, and it's a tapestry, yes, of individuals looking to sell products, from what I can see. White Ribbon is in on this as well.
Oh boy,
tell us about that.
Now we know where the money's going.
Well, yeah, the more I looked into it, the more I found that this looked pretty sneaky and pretty suspect. And one of the things that I noticed right offhand was, follow the money. And there's two places on the Australian Women's Network page. One place says that all the proceeds for International Men's Day will go to a variety of men's health organizations in Australia. And I thought, all right, that's looking good, Then I found another page that said all of the proceeds from Australian Women's Network's International Men's Day are going to go to the White Ribbon campaign. I thought, okay, which one is it, Spits or Swallows? And so I looked at the White Ribbon campaign site, and guess what it said? It said all the proceeds of International Men's Day are going to go to the White Ribbon campaign. And I was thinking, oh, no, this is not good at all. So, what it looked like, of course, was that White Ribbon was directly connected with all of this, and they're getting the money from the co-opting of Men's Day by this Australian Women's Network. The whole thing is just bizarre when you think about it.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out for the benefit of anyone who may have been under a rock or is just stumbling into this discussion. There is White Ribbon Foundation in Australia is absolutely a corrupt organization, feminist organization that promotes concepts like toxic masculinity and is practiced a lot of denial about domestic violence research and how the problem affects men. And as a matter of fact, they seem to be actively working on disinformation about domestic violence. They have been for a long time. They rake in millions of dollars. They're sort of like, in one way, they're equivalent of our SPLC here in America. They talk a good bit, don't really do much of anything, and rake in millions of dollars. And the Australian public has been buying this for a long time. So what we're saying in essence here is that International Men's Day, which like one of the pillars of International Men's Day from the founders, was that it was built on correcting stereotypes about men and on fighting discrimination against men. it did have a very male positive mission and focus.
Yes.
And now in Australia, it's being co-opted not just by ideological enemies of anybody interested in supporting men's and boys' welfare, but also profiteers that are in there raking in the money from this. So that's in a nutshell. That's what we're here to talk about, is that the whole IMD agenda is being co-opted right in front of our eyes by a feminist organization seeking to make money off of it.
Yes. I agree.
And they stand to make a considerable amount of money. When we take a look at all of the links that are here, I went a few deep as far as looking at links. Almost every single one of these are sponsored by various businesses throughout Australia and Asia.
Huh.
Who don't have a clue what they're endorsing. They just know it's going to get them exposure.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's exactly what's going on.
Correct.
The only really legitimate "we're here to help men" organization that I saw that was even secondhand affiliated in any way with this was mensline.org. And their page for experiencing violent and abusive relationships and getting help with that looked very legitimate. That was all I found. The rest are all businesses.
Huh.
The AWN, as pretty of a name as it is to hold Australian Women's Network, has less to do with ideology and more to do with money making. These individuals are using the identity politics bandwagon and the banner of women to bring in as many sponsors as they possibly can. They sell services. If you take a look at their ambassador page at the very bottom, it states plainly, and I'll quote this: brand ambassadors are considered to be the key salesperson for a product or service on offer. They must remain well informed when it comes to the brand they're representing, due to their nature of being the go-to person when questions arise from our community. Our brand ambassadors' job is to drive results through communication tools, either publicly, such as social media, or privately, including emails, messaging, and further one-to-one channels. Each of our brand ambassadors at AWN have their own purpose in life, values, and are like-minded business women. So, there we go. Right in a nutshell, you're out to sell the products of our sponsors, and looks like only women can be on board as an ambassador. Likely because they are responded to much better if they go in as women and say, "Hear me roar."
Yes, and they're a gynocentric organization.
Exactly.
And that's what makes them money.
Exactly.
Which makes it even more bizarre that they're glomming off of men's stuff.
Well, I'm calling that as a twofer for White Ribbon. Not only do they get to scam some more money from the unsuspecting public, but they also get to co-opt what could have and should have been an important initiative for men and boys.
Amen to that.
And that fits their agenda quite well too.
You're right about that, and that's probably what pissed me off the most about the whole thing.
Completely speculation on my part, is that White Ribbon got a wild fucking hair up their ass, especially after everything that went down a couple years ago.
Oh,
and they've taken. Well, a couple years ago, AVFM rolled out a site and Aaron Pitsey ended up getting sued over it, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, not sued. There was a complaint filed with some other, I don't know, some kind of fucking world organization or something that oversees domain ownership and appropriate use. And we lost the case. We semi-expected to lose the case, even though I still stand morally on the principle of what we did, and will to my dying day. But it upset them, to say the least. And it wasn't the only time that they've been upset by us. They were complaining about A Voice for Men in the Australian Parliament a year before any of that ever happened.
Good job, Paul.
Thank you. So it was really, none of it was nothing new. We've dedicated ourselves for a long time to pointing out, especially about White Ribbon, and especially White Ribbon Australia, that it is such an incredibly corrupt organization, overtly peddling lies, overtly spreading misinformation about very serious social issues so they can make a buck. This is the bottom of the barrel scumbags to beat all. And we've been talking about it for a long time, and we're never going to stop.
Australia's always been kind of a hot spot for us when it comes to taking a look at gender issues and taking a look at what these feminist organizations are doing. I mean, we take a look at things like the Men's Shed movement. That's in Australia. We take a look at several on-the-ground groups for men's rights that are in Australia. And we take a look at where things like the Agent Orange files, the ringleaders, for with the RadFem Hub Forum were located in Australia. So this has always been a hot spot for us.
Yeah, and you've got a veritable who's who in terms of Jermaine Greer and Raywin Connell and Michael Flood. I mean, there's a Clementine Ford. There's the list of idiots goes on. It's always been a really important part, which is why we just had a conference in Australia. It's one of the main reasons we went to Australia was because Australia needed it.
And this is where I would like to complete my speculation, is that so many buttons have been pushed that White Ribbon said, let us get hold of AWN, since we know they can put on a good show, and have them front all of this for us.
Sure.
And then what they front is basically anti-male stuff on Men's Day.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us a little about that, Tom.
That's what really pissed me off. Well, if you look at the International Men's Day site, the official people who are doing International Men's Day, I think it's 70 countries now celebrate it, and they're coordinating all of this. They said that this year the theme should be Celebrate Men and Boys. I thought, yeah, that's good. Celebrate men and boys. In fact, I was thinking, damn, I'd like to get them that video I've done on how the goodness of men and boys. I bet they'd love that. Anyway,
so I thought, they wouldn't.
Well, a White Ribbon wouldn't, but I hope that the International Men's Day would.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I thought, well, okay, that's a great theme. Let's see how this conference from the AWN is going to coordinate with that kind of stuff. And instead of having Celebrate Men and Boys, one of the workshops in the morning, well, first off, the whole thing is introduced by the CEO of White Ribbon, and B, the CEO of the Australian Women's Network. So they're starting off with all women on Men's Day, which is kind of a bizarre thing. But the workshop in the morning is titled The Respectful Man. It's like,
oh man,
are you kidding me? The Respectful Man, and they didn't talk about the details, but just the title's enough to make you go. I mean, this is the whole thing. Men should be respectful. No, men should be who they are. Screw you. But
Maybe
that's
we
not.
have to get Brad Wilcox to present for them.
But that's not the worst of it. The one in the afternoon, the workshop was titled, oh God, now I've forgotten the title. I have to go look it up. But it was something like "Masculinity is Flawed." Literally, I mean that was literally the title. Masculinity is flawed, and this is not celebrating men and boys, folks. This is not celebrating men and boys at all. This is bullshit, So that told me that this whole thing is just it's there to make money. They're not out to go along with the theme of celebrate men and boys. They're out there to bring out their agenda, which is there's something wrong with men, and let's spread that out on Men's Day. What a horrible thing to do.
Absolutely. And we've got AWN is simply the front to be able to put all of this on through all their business sponsors.
Yes.
That's really all they are. I'm pretty darn sure White Ribbon is actually running the show. And Australian Women's Network is just the front. So they have the ambassadors. They didn't list very many, but we've got these global ambassadors here. We've got Marsh Engel, CEO of Marsh Engel Media, founder of the 1 Million Called to Lead. Take a look at 1 Million Called, 2015.com. I guess that was the last time she set up a conference. It is a women's business conference. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And, it's set up as this kind of help workshop.
Yeah.
And their manifesto page is a pretty in pink type of thing that essentially says, I am special, hear me squeak.
Oh boy.
And that's
I have everything that's needed to be successful.
Yeah. Don't let anyone tell you can't be successful. You can be successful. You are successful.
You are already.
I mean, this is.
Yeah, don't actually put in the work. You're already successful.
and if anyone tells you otherwise, it's discrimination.
Oh,
yes.
God.
I mean,
yeah,
this reminds me of Robert Preston's The Music Man and his think system.
Yes. There you go.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes. Another thing that got me about this whole thing was that the title of the workshop or of the program for this Australian Women's Network International Men's Day was to inspire men to connect, grow, and transform.
Transform into what?
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, they're saying men need to change.
Well, yeah, that transform is the operative word. That's what this thing is. I mean, we could have known this from the moment we saw White Ribbon in connection with it. That was going to be exactly what they're going to do. I want to point out something, and I hate to do it, but I need to point it out anyway. All this crap, this co-option, only takes place because there's no one organizing to resist it.
Yep, exactly.
It is, whoever it was that started International Men's Day didn't stick with it. It's all going to get wrecked now. It's sort of like NFL football. They're screwing the whole mess up with this. International Men's Day is officially tainted at this point because nobody stopped it.
There must be somebody that's in charge, Paul.
Well, I don't think there's anybody to blame for that. I think it's just a reflection that we have a different kind of movement in the men's movement than any other conventional movement. It's just different by nature. We live in a purely gynocentric world. There is really no room intellectually for red pill philosophy to flourish in a mainstream way.
Right. That's correct.
The closest thing other than this that we have is Movember.
Yeah. And that's about, I fear that is about, it may improve some, and I think it ultimately will. But in the meantime, I think it's important to be able to tolerate these stories because we're going to get more and more of them. They're awful what these people are doing. But it just helps me to know that no matter what, we're still winning. The red pill philosophy is growing. More men are going their own way. More and more of this, I've had a slew of media calls recently over this tech thing. As a matter of fact, New York Times, I talked to them, so did Cassie J and Warren Farrell about this women in tech thing. And because they used us for references, Media Matters came out with this scathing, and can you believe the New York Times is being indicted by Media Matters for using me as a source.
What?
Yes.
What?
When I put this up, I'll send you guys the links. And when I put this up on the Ear for Men channel, I'll give links to both stories, both the New York Times story that was done on it, and then the almost immediate pearl clutching craziness of the Media Matters story, just blasting the New York Times.
Wow.
Because they didn't use us in reference to a hit piece. They actually just used us for references.
How about that?
So that narrative is changing, and that's the way I think we're going to. Anyways, my point in all this was it just makes it. There's always going to be people out there conning other people out of money.
Yes.
There's P.T. Barnum was right. There's one born every minute.
Yes.
And we're going to see this in a million other ways too. I mean, you see it in the food industry and cars, everything. People getting conned and swindled. Well-meaning people. The SPLC does it. There's a world full of idiots out there that are going to shell out their wallets every time somebody says, but it's for the women. Then they'll just instinctively reach for their wallets and not ask questions. We can't fight against that, but we can continue to do what we're doing, and it's still causing them fits.
Yeah.
It sure is, and they've gone so far as to try to push the alt-right. Oh, these guys are alt-right narrative onto AVFM.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to try and cause them more fits because what they're doing is really wrong. And I'd love to get in touch with the people from the International Men's Day folks. And if anybody out there knows how to contact them, please let us know. You know, the other thing that the International Men's Day says is that not only should it be about celebrate men and boys, but they recommend that every site that's doing a program this year for International Men's Day, please have a showing of the Red Pill movie. Huh. They suggest that. They say that if you're having a conference for International Men's Day, please do a viewing for the Red Pill movie. How about that?
And who is that coming from?
That's from the people who are the basic head people of International Men's Day, the same guys that set up to celebrate men and boys. You know, now that I think about it, Cassie probably knows these people because if they're going to set up the Red Pill, they had to talk to her. So maybe we should talk to Cassie. And
is there nothing for that with what the Australian Women's Network is putting on?
Is there nothing for what?
Nothing for that? I mean,
what do you mean?
They're not. Well, you had a list of their speakership, right?
Oh yeah, don't worry. The Red Pill is not a part of their conference.
Just making sure.
You can take that to the bank. No way. That's the other thing that I was saying on my YouTube thing about this was that, you know, they're not going to have the Red Pill. They hate that movie. In fact, you know, all of Australia hated it, except for people who are sane.
Oh, there were people in Australia that were protesting this.
Oh God, it was wonderful.
And I got to ask the question though:
what?
Has there been anything from the people who were recommending the Red Pill movie talking about the financial setup, the structure, what's actually happening in Australia? Are they issuing any kind of statement?
That's what I want to find out. And
yeah,
I've tried to email them. I've tried to, you know, use a smoke signals, whatever. I can't find them.
Well, if anybody out there knows these people, please refer them a link to this discussion because I mean, I'd be very interested to see if they're just going to remain silent on this.
Yeah, really. I'll bet they won't. I bet if they hear really what's going on, they're going to say, in fact, I wondered about this because even though the Australian Women's Network is using their logo, the International Men's Day logo, notice that they're having their conference on the day after International Men's Day. So their conference is on November 20th. International Men's Day is on November 19th. So it made me wonder if maybe they hadn't got to them already and said, screw you, not on our day, you know?
Well, but they're still using
The logo. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though.
It is interesting. And again, I'm not trying to be just guy that throws a wrench in the gears.
Yeah, sure.
But if there's the people that are responsible for IMD should be saying something very vocally, they should be contacting the media saying this is in our name and it's not what we're about.
Exactly.
Yep.
I hope that would be what they would do.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, for a nonprofit, I really have to wonder exactly what else they're selling. No, really.
Yeah, I hear you.
I take a look at their two other global ambassadors that they list. One is Helen Polidoro. I guess that's the correct pronunciation. Extensive background in hairdressing, beauty, human science and nutrition, and salon business coach. And then there's Ron Malhotra, award-winning financial advisor, international speaker, advanced mindset and success coach,
Yeah.
certified leadership trainer,
Yeah.
a radio host, and #1 best-selling author.
Yeah. And look at his list of what he does with his workshop.
Yep, exactly.
Not that impressive.
For what these individuals are doing is basically going around setting up conferences, using business sponsors and identity politics
Yeah.
to draw them in, saying, okay, well, we'll list you on our site as a bunch of do-gooders if you throw us money our way,
Yep.
put these shindigs on,
Yes.
and that's pretty much what they're selling.
Yeah. Another thing that got me about this whole thing was, of course, they named the Men's Day event to inspire men to connect, grow, and transform. But the same group had a conference for International Women's Day in March of 2017. Guess what the title was for that?
Oh, no.
You've got everything to take the world in your stride.
And I swear to God, this stuff should come with tissue.
You're already perfect, but you men, you
Exactly.
guys suck and need to change.
Exactly. There you go. Crazy.
God. Wow.
Absolutely insane.
This has hit a new low.
Yes, it has.
And I
They keep
wonder
outdoing themselves.
I wonder what we can do about it. We've identified the problem. We've laid this list out on the table of all the craziness surrounding this. Now what can be done about it? I mean, they're going to hold the shindig no matter what. That's for sure. They're too well connected.
The only people that can really do anything about this are the people that are in control,
Right.
legal control of the branding for IMD.
Yes.
Certainly we can, write angry letters and we can, do discussions like this, and they should be a part of it. But the real authority to do anything at all, right square at IMD management.
Yes. And it'll be very interesting if we ever find them, whether they do something or not.
Yeah, because then IMD management is about to tell the entire world whether or not International Men's Day should be something that we regard as something for men to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because I won't shut up about it. If there's going to be a co-option like this and International Men's Day is funding fucking White Ribbon Foundation, then no. I'm definitely, I'm not going to be a part of that.
I hear you. Me either.
Well, I will say this. For any of you ground pounders out there, you know who you are. Those groups out there in the US, Canada, and Australia, and in certain areas of Europe. You have my contact information. Get hold of me. We'll sit down and see what we can figure out as far as what can be put up in your local areas to bring some awareness to this issue. And the idea that people are moving in and destroying what really could have been something special.
Also, for those of you interested in this, feel free to link this conversation and send it to places like Breitbart. You never know who you might have somebody take an interest in this.
Point. Good point.
There we go. Well, gentlemen, is there anything else we can cover about this today?
Yeah, one thing. Would you put a link to my YouTube on this issue?
I sure will.
Man, what do you think this is? We just give away advertising?
We'll take care of you.
It's part of my salary, isn't it?
Yeah, that's part of your increase anyway.
No, I really think people would enjoy the video, and it goes into exactly what we've talked about today.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're covering it. The only other thing I got out is that look to Justice for Men and Boys, the International Conference on Men's Issues, the fourth one.
Birmingham,
the UK, next July, 13th to the 15th. Deposits will be soon accepted. Tickets will be on sale soon. Great lineup of speakers, and we're going to be plugging the hell out of this. James was asking earlier, what are solutions? I guarantee you the ICMIs are part of the solution.
Amen.
To get the discussion out there across the world.
Yes.
About men's issues and about the corruption of feminism.
And proceeds will not be going to White Ribbon.
You can pretty much count on that. I think I donated a quarter to him once.
All right. Very nice.
I was feeling very magnanimous.
Yeah, I should say.
And that's it for me.
Me
All
too.
right. Well, folks, thank you very much for coming by and talking about this issue. Paul Elam, founder of AVFM, and Tom Golden, and myself, AVFM Radio Director James Huff, we are signing out. Have a great day and take the red pill.
Indeed. Take two. They're small.